Join me in prayer. Beloved God, thank you. God, as we sing these beautiful songs, we're reminded of where we've come, God, how we're doing, and God, your dream for where we can go as a community and as a family and as just our personal self. So I thank you as we invite your presence into this space. I pray that our hearts can ring in resonance with yours. I offer this. 이키로를 축복 춘심 가정 Joshua and Holmes, a blessed central family. Amen. And please be seated. And as you sit, you can also clap for our Los Angeles Family Church band. Wow. Special. Gosh, I love that song. As far as I'm concerned, that's a holy song. I don't know where it comes from. I know it's a Christian hymnal, right? But whenever I hear that song, I think about One Heart Camp, and the days when, looks didn't matter, finances didn't matter, all these things didn't matter. It was just us with our brothers, with our sisters, and spending time singing these kinds of songs. I'm reminded of that, and it warms my heart a lot. Exciting is that actually One Heart Camp is coming up in just a few days. Yeah, please. It's amazing. This is the first time One Heart Camp's been back at Camp Sealy or in Los Angeles in 4 years, I believe. 3 years or 4 years. And it's been missing. It's really been missing. And the amazing thing is we have the largest group in 4 years that we'll ever have at One Heart Camp. So it's going to be an exciting experience. They opened it up to some of the surrounding communities, so we're going to have those from Arizona there, some from Alaska, some from Seattle, but mainly Bay Area and Los Angeles as usual. Also Vegas will be there, so thank you to the team that's putting that together, particularly here in LA. Mika and Yoshi Takagi have been kind of the main putting it together. So, if you're in high school and you're questioning whether to go, come on now. You don't want to miss it, and you really don't. You really don't. I talk to a lot of people who've quote unquote left, people who are distant or, my friends basically, people that are no longer connected, and often, I'm asked a very practical question, which is, what is the value of the blessing, or even what is the value of this community? And my response, some of you know this if you've ever talked with me about it, but my response is always, because I know they're not going to understand the spiritual side of it so easily. I understand that. The spiritual side of everything we do is not always easy to grasp, especially for people who, that was the reason they left. The spiritual was way too high. But I try to give my practical perspective on it. And for me, it's very simply shared experiences, shared values. Shared experiences and shared values. Those are two things that you cannot fabricate and create later on in your life. As much as you try. I have this song that I love. Maybe I've said it before. Go listen to it. It's a beautiful song. It's by Ben Rector. It's called Old Friends. Do any of you know this song? None of you. Okay, yeah. Ben Rector is not like the best artist in the world, but anyway, it's a beautiful song. And in the song, he talks about, you can create amazing friends later in your life, but you can't create old friends. You can't, and then he gives this like analogy. He says, I know my best friend's house, or something like that. Like, I know his garage. I know what it was like when his mom was yelling at him as a kid. It's the things you just cannot recreate later in your life, no matter how hard you'll ever try. It's a shared experience. But we add another layer that's even deeper than that, and that's we have shared values. And those two things, to me, are why one should consider the blessing, no matter what, to receive the blessing in their life and blessing of marriage, and also to continuously return to community. Because the testimony, time and time again, to be honest, from those who I talk to, is always this sense of pain that they decided to leave because they lost those two things. And those two things are what build a happy family, a happy life. Is you have shared experiences and you have shared values. And it's to me that's the core. And the question is, like, when I think about One Heart Camp, and we're just like, it's just sweaty guys staying up super late or putting your arms around each other and no one's wearing deodorant, And it's just like you have all these moments where you're listening to Reverend Thompson's ridiculous stories about fishing with True Father, my like single favorite lecture from anyone was Mike LaGrasso. Does anyone remember his Fall of Man lecture? Oh my God, so as our generation kind of remembers this lecture, he stopped after his health started deteriorating. But he gave this lecture about the fall of man where he draw this big line on the board and he talk about how each stage of how Eve and Adam fell, and it's very, very, it's like very clear. And I'll never forget those moments, but like what binds all of that? What binds the shared experience and the shared values? What binds it is, of course, God, but uniquely for us is true parents. Whether you like it or not, there's something that had to create the environment for that to take place. Those things don't just happen. Shared experiences, shared values don't just happen. Something binds it, something allows it to stand on a foundation, and that's what our true parents fought day and night for. They fought for it. And maybe we didn't see the nuances of the providence and all the different things that God wanted to do, but they built it. And they're able to create it in this next generation. So in all the pain that we felt, always the testimony I feel and I receive back is a longing to want to return to those things. Some things you just cannot recreate no matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you create great relationships with other people. Amen? Not you. So that song's beautiful. That was not, I don't know. Okay, actually it is, in a way, it's exactly what I'm talking about. It's exactly, actually, what we're talking about. So first of all, though, just want to say Happy Father's Day. So if all the fathers in the room, please receive an applause. Congratulations. Yeah, wow. And I hope no one forgot. Please go buy a gift or something. Uber Eats some coffee to your dad's house, something. I'm hopefully going to see my dad today. We had a gift for him yesterday. Also, I'm going to be talking about this, a new era, but I just want to acknowledge something that took place last week, Sunday morning, which most of you were in attendance of, and I'm so grateful for that, is that we opened up officially our Cheon Prayer Hall here in Los Angeles. Which is, it was very special. This prayer hall is something that True Mother asked every community to create. And we were the 8th one to respond to the call. But according to Dr. Kim, who was there with us, 8th is the number of a fresh start. So we're number 1 in the Providence. It's always good to be number 1. We received Dr. Kim. He stayed overnight at Pasadena House, and he had an amazing experience, and he couldn't stop talking about it afterwards. And that's a good sign if someone's not stopped talking about something. And so he testified to True Mother directly. He immediately that next day, or later that day, he sent a report to True Mother, who, for those that don't know, True Mother has been specifically asking about Los Angeles. Did you know that? If you join in the morning devotions, I've been sharing it, but Mother has been asking actually multiple times through various avenues and directly from Dr. Kim, asking how Los Angeles is doing. So, are we doing okay? Great. I like my Uncle Mike. He's like, no, we're not. Sort of, come on, give us a little bit. We are on a journey. We are on a journey to a destination that will be where we are confidently saying, yes, we are doing good. I'm full every time you go in there. That's right, Uncle Stephen. That's right. So our hope is that it can be like this every day, where the prayer hall is being used. And I'm so moved because Takayo and I have been basically staying at the church all day long, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. every single day for the last week to get the prayer hall settled. And so we saw many of the members coming and offering devotion there, and it was really moving. And I was touched by how people were pouring out their heart. And anyway, it's so special. It really is. So I want to encourage everyone to please use it. Please use it. It's for you. And I'm going to share more in depth about it, but actually, the conclusion of today's message is very simple. It's the same conclusion as yesterday's message, and that is very simply, please go pray at the Cheon. Please take time there and give God a chance to really speak to you in every facet of your life. Give God a chance. So that's the conclusion. You can leave now if you'd like to go to the church prayer hall right now. That'd be all right. Here's what I want to show, just so that everyone's on the same page, is we have a schedule for the prayer hall. It's from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for most of the days, weekdays especially. And then Saturday, it's till 8 p.m. because we have Saturday night service. And then Sunday, it's until 2 p.m., which is when Amy needs to leave so that she finishes her day. So Sunday is 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so it's here. Please use it. There's devotion every morning from 6 to 7:15. One of our pastoral team is there every single morning to open up, light the candles, because we can't keep them on 24/7 due to fire hazards. And there is an option to join live via Zoom if you'd like, starting tomorrow. So that Zoom link will be sent out. However, I would say there is a different experience when you're there in person, right? So some of you did Dr. Young's devotion every single morning. I tell you, I had the opportunity to be there when he was doing the devotions in person at Belvedere. It's night and day. And it's the same for this, but particularly because of the location, the Cheon Prayer Hall as a prayer hall for us. And then lastly, if you are a real fanatic, on Fridays, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., we do a special devotion with Korea. So we get to connect with Korea and hear all their testimonies of what's going on. We even get to contribute sometimes, and then we offer an incredible prayer together during that time. It's amazing. It's amazing. Sadly, last time we did it last Friday, by 8 a.m., some people, basically everyone had to leave. It was just me, Kengo, Takayo, and one other brother, Daniel. But the last hour is really the most amazing piece of it all. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knows this is the Cheon schedule, and this is how we're going to move forward. There's a code at the outside door. So when we're not there in the mornings, we lock the whole building. So you can only enter through the outside door. The code is 1943. You can try to guess what that date is. But 1943 is the code, so if you want to enter at any point, please do so. So what I want to jump into today is, actually, I feel my responsibility as a pastor, as a co-pastor with Takayo, and then Kengo as well as our assistant pastor. And my only authority as a pastor is in that I represent true parents to some capacity. And I'm meant to guide in some capacity. Each person, I have some spiritual responsibility for the community here. This is my responsibility as a pastor. And the only authority or foundation that I'm permitted to stand on, of course I have my own experiences in those things, but the key is whether I understand and can communicate true mother's word right now. Does that make sense? My only authority is in whom I represent. If I cannot represent them, then I have no authority to speak. Even my position on this stage, I have no right to speak on this stage if I do not represent them. Of course, and I feel that specifically now as True Mother is leading us on the foundation of the incredible life of True Father. Now we're here. This is my responsibility, is to communicate their words, their desire and their love to the community. So I want to tap us into some of the words that she recently spoke. In full disclosure, they are challenging words. Is that okay? Yes. You ready to be challenged at church a little bit? They're challenging words, and I want us to marinate over them, and we'll go piece by piece, and we'll pull this together. Okay. So I'll read. The first responsibility we need to fulfill is national restoration. National restoration means that we cannot continue with the current structure. All blessed families, all leaders, all members should focus on witnessing on the front line. In any area, there can be no nation without citizens. There cannot be a king without citizens. It is the same for America. There can be no American Providence without members. How can the elder son nation fulfill its responsibility? That's the point. For a long time, Mother has called America to fulfill its responsibility, but it has not been doing so. Therefore, in this new era of the Providence, all the old systems have been completely dismissed. We should move as one structure and focus on witnessing. Mother wants to focus the entire direction on witnessing. So we are making a new beginning. Let's inherit heaven's strength, and we should continue praying at the Cheon. During your time here, you should offer plenty of Jeongsang asking how to achieve national restoration. Those are the words for today. So, yesterday I spoke about this, no nation without citizens. And today I want to focus a little bit, even kind of related to it, which is a new era that we're in. And what I want to do is go piece by piece with what Mother shared and help us to digest what she's communicating. And if this is your first time with our church community, I want to invite you to listen to the kind of the vision that this mother has for the world. It may not be relatable, the idea of witnessing, because you're new here. That's fine. But listen to the dream, to the spirit that she's conveying through the words that she's asking us as members and as leaders to practice, to implement. And so what she starts with is the first responsibility we need to fulfill is national restoration. We cannot continue with the current structure. So we have a dream in this community that we can build God's nation. We recognize that our current reality with America especially, we are in a very troubling situation where God has been kicked out of schools, out of families, out of individuals. But we believe that when you do that, what you do is you kick the values that come with God out as well. And so we start to see the friction of what's taking place in our society today. And it's a serious issue. And I believe that this nation is waiting for us to show up. Somehow we are meant to deliver a solution for this nation's pain, its suffering as a country. And so our dream is that we can have a restored nation. That God has this dream of building a kingdom of heaven on earth, that we can substantially build that in our nation. And that starts with LA, with Los Angeles. We can build it here in Los Angeles, but even before Los Angeles, it starts with our own family. Each of our families are individual nations. The Irwin clan, that's a nation. Right? The Halal clan, that's a nation. You're building, and our parents are in the position to be the tribal messiah of that clan, of that tribe. And so we're building individual nations, and our goal is for them to be restored. And so my question is, have we restored our nation? Have we? No way. No way. We're far from it. And so this is the first thing that Mother is acknowledging, that we are far from it. And she's addressing that we are far from it because we cannot, our current structure, the way that we're focusing, does not allow us to get to that end. And so if I want to reach a goal, I need to set the right things in place. I need to have the right pieces in place to arrive at that goal. And she's saying that the pieces are not in place. Something is desperately missing for us to arrive at the dream. We want to arrive at the dream, we have to have the right pieces. And so she follows it up with this, which I believe is the answer. She says, all blessed families, all leaders, all members should focus on witnessing on the front line. I'll read it again. This is the tough challenge. She says, who? All blessed families, all leaders, all members should focus on witnessing on the front line. This is her request of us. All of us should focus on witnessing on the front line. And she recently said, as you heard from Nate Winman, chando, 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 witnessing, witnessing, witnessing. And I feel when I hear that, that's me. Actually, that's all me. I'm a blessed family. I'm a leader. I'm a member. If she's speaking to anyone, she's speaking to Joshua Holmes. I have a responsibility to focus on witnessing on the front line. Right? And if I do not practice what she is asking me to fulfill, I have no authority to stand on this stage to talk to you at all. Right? Because my authority is to be able to communicate and practice what true parents are asking us to do. And I hope that we can also receive this ourselves. So back in the day, we used to have this kind of spirit. We used to have this kind of desire to want to share what we've received, this amazing thing we've received. And over time, we sort of waned down and maybe we stopped being on kind of front line, as you'd say, or full time, as people would say. And we don't necessarily need to become full time, but Mother is asking us to focus, and that the current structure does not permit us to have that focus. So this is where she goes next. She says, in any area, there can be no nation without citizens. There can be no American Providence without members. In any area, there can be no nation without citizens. There can be no American Providence without members. And so this we know is true, that if you ever want to impart change, if we believe we can change this society, change this nation, we cannot do it alone. We have to have people to support our effort. Without the numbers, we cannot reach the impact. And I knew this in my time in CARP. I was often told that even if we wanted to create a social impact on the college campus, without the numbers to support us, without the people to support us, we would have no power to make the influence. There's only so much one person can do by themselves. And so we have to expand the foundation in order to restore a nation. And that's the missing piece that we have. And we can feel it even at church. We haven't had the growth that we need to have in order to actually realize peace. And this is my struggle, and it kind of is always my struggle, is we have amazing ministries. And we can go out and do amazing, huge level programs, as we see true parents do often. And we put on all the lights and the cameras, and we put on the performances, and everything is taking place. Yet, if we are not growing internally here, in our membership, growing in our families, then how can we actually make those things matter? We can put on the big program, but we can't realize the influence if we're not growing here. The church has to grow. The church has to grow. Us as a community, we have to grow. You know, I'm speaking to those who believe in the dream. You believe in the dream of national restoration. You believe in the dream that called you in the first place. Why you became a unificationist or family federation, whatever you want to call, why you became, was there was a dream that you wanted to see fulfilled. We cannot do it if we cannot grow. We can put on all the programs, all the lights and the camera, the action, whatever, but if we are not growing here, we have no power. We don't have the power. And I can scale that down all the way into a family level. We want to create a beautiful environment in our family, but we have to start with one person, bringing them in, bringing them back. Or say it's your child or someone like that. You have to start with one and bring them back, bring them close, because we have to increase the number. Then you have power in your family to change the way that your family functions, the way that the culture of your family has been, the mindset of the people in the rest of your family. So you start with one and you can break through, and that's how the Providence has always functioned. God always starts with 1, then he can expand to 3, then 7, then 12, and so on. And so we haven't been expanding, and so we have an issue. And Mother's addressing that issue, particularly for the American Providence. So I have this, so I'll move forward with this. And so the latter half of this paragraph, she says, how can the elder son nation fulfill its responsibility? All the old systems have been completely dismissed. We should move as one structure and focus on witnessing. Mother wants to focus the entire direction on witnessing. So we understand this is what the elder son is able to contribute. We are meant to contribute to the rest of the world by growing ourselves here. We grow our foundation here. And so old systems need to go. So I can speak candidly with you all that even our pastoral team, Reverend Tengen, Kengo, Takayo, and I, we are going to be restructuring even the way that we function. Because where we're currently at, we're not focused. We're not focused. So we're going to restructure our system somehow to be able to navigate forward according to this direction. Otherwise, we will not be able to focus on the mission at hand. And so the question is, who are we witnessing to? Who are we witnessing to? We should identify always, I'm a marketing major, so always you identify your target audience, and then you reach that target audience. So who is our target? And I would say that there's two groups of people that are absolutely critical, and why I know they're essential is because True Mother has spoken specifically about it. Very specific. Mother is never unclear. Very specific. And the first is that we witness to new people. Just like how you were perhaps witnessed to back in the day. We witness to a new person. And we do that on the college campuses. We do that around many people doing Travel Messiah activity. And then also, we're going to start implementing a 360 degrees around the church. So we want to start doing community activities for the local community in this area. One of the things we already have planned on July 22nd, we're going to do a pancake breakfast for the local community around here. Our hope is that people around our church community can feel loved. That's all. That's all. Just they feel loved. And in that way, they can realize that this is a place they can call home. I believe that there's people just down the street that are longing to find a home. And I believe we can give it to them. So we need to witness to new people. But also, Mother is very clear about re-witnessing. Re-witnessing. I don't know if that's a real phrase. But witnessing to those who've been distant, who haven't had a chance to taste our true parents, our heavenly parents' love in a very long time, or their word in a very long time, or for whatever reason. And I tell you, everyone has their reason. Everyone has a valid reason for why they went the journey that they went on. You have a valid reason for why even you may feel distant now. And that is okay. I want you to know very clearly, as the pastor of Los Angeles Family Church, Takayo and Kengo, Reverend Tengen and I are very clear, wherever you are at, that is okay. Wherever you may have walked, however you may feel about true parents, I'm very bold about it. I talk about true parents in every other sentence. I get it. It might even be like a dissonance for you. It's like, gosh, she's stressing me out. No, I'm bold. I believe they can provide the solution to the world. And I believe their love has the same richness, that they know where you're at and are okay with where you're at, of meeting you where you're at. But we're not okay with you staying where you're at. We want you to be happier. We want you to have more joy. We want you to experience God the way that I have. I remember the day when I met God. I really met God. And it changed my life. And my life hasn't been the same since. I remember the day that I received the blessing from Takayo. I want everyone to receive what I received when I received the blessing. My life changed. Takayo saved my life. I was suffering from addiction. I was supposed to be this leader in carpet. All this, I was suffering so much from the core of my being. And Takayo and the blessing saved my life. Pulled me out of the darkest part of hell and showed me light that I've never seen in my entire life. Now, every person deserves that. And Takayo will say, I did nothing. But that's, she just was who she was. And I honor and I thank true parents because they gave that to me. And every person deserves it. Every person. But to arrive at that point requires one to lay a foundation. You have to really lay a foundation. And Takayo laid a foundation. I laid a foundation to receive the most amazing thing that God could ever give you. And that's your partner for life. And the family that you will build. And so wherever you may be at, we're not happy with where you're at, but we'll meet you where you're at. Because I get it. We all have our valid reasons. But mother is obvious to us. When you read this, don't just think someone out there. Think someone that you know. Really think someone that you know. Your friend, your family, your children, your husband, your wife. Maybe even think yourself. And mother is very clear. And Father gave us a formula back in the day for what witnessing composes of. Does anyone know this formula? Some of you were here yesterday. So the formula goes like this. I love this formula. It's 30% the word. So when you're witnessing, when you're trying to introduce someone to this community or anything, it's 30% about the word. So the truth that we stand on. It's the truth. That's 30% of it. And the other 30% is the practice. And so this is critical because I can't just shove truth down your throat because no one wants that. I actually have to be a living example of that truth in my life in front of you. And I believe that's done on a one-on-one basis in tribal messiahship. It's how I am as an individual in front of you. I'm practicing that truth as a living embodiment. I'm at least trying, and you're moved by that. So we practice it, and so we love deeply. And then the third piece, if you're wondering, how much more percent is there? It's 40%. So the 40% that's left, Father says, is we have to move the spirit world. We have to move the spirit world. We have to move the spirit world. Why? Because someone once said that we are not physical beings with a spiritual body. We are spiritual beings living in a physical body. And we understand from the divine principle that we are living in two worlds. We are spiritual and we are in the physical realm. And so the spiritual world actually matters. It actually matters. It's an aspect of our life. And if you're wondering, does the spirit world even exist? Well, if you really think, there has to be something that where God must reside. There has to be an area that's beyond time and beyond space and intangible. It has to be subject over what is material in the world. So something that is immaterial, something that is intangible, something that is of where our mind and our heart exist must also exist. And that we call the spiritual realm. And so when you pass away, your body, you shed your physical body, you go to the spiritual realm. And Father says that if you want to effectively share what we have and love, practicing that, you still have to move the spiritual world. You have to move the spiritual world. And so as much as I can love my brothers and sisters, and as much as I can teach, and I know we love to teach, we love to just whip out the principle whenever we can get it to, scold. My mom would scold me with the principle, hit me over the head with the black book. No dating. Where's that written, Mom? I don't see it. All this stuff, but she has to still move the spirit world to win my heart. Because that's a huge aspect of who I am. And so we know that that's not easy to do. And that's why True Mother specifically identifies that as an issue. And that we have to move the spirit world as the Los Angeles Family Church. You have to move the spirit world for your family. And the Chonchimwan is here for us to do that. Does that make sense? It's here for us to move the spirit world. and ask heaven for direction. So she says, a new beginning. Let's inherit heaven's strength, and we should continue praying at the Chonchimwa. This is the message clear as day for us. That's my encouragement today, is please go pray there. Please, before you leave today, go pray there, and then find a way to restructure your own system. So Mother says we have to restructure our system. And maybe your current system doesn't allow you to pray at the Chonchimwa. And so, you have to consider a restructure. You have to consider a restructure. And also, I will have to say that if, in order to come out here, I know some of you live in Torrance, and I know how bad that freeway is. Holy moly. I lived in Cyprus my whole life. It's bad. You have to make a sacrifice. Some sacrifice must be made. But I know that if you do it, something amazing will take place. Already, amazing things are taking place, right? Amazing miracles are starting to unfold for this church just because we started to pray. One of the things was the tiles on these ceilings. Just all of a sudden it came back. And of course, the incredible effort of Uncle Mike. I really feel none of that would have went forward unless we were praying and we were offering and moving the spirit world. And so, many of us have different situations. Really, many of us have challenging situations with our children, with our friends, with our families, with our life. So if we want to bring victory in this new era, we're in a new era, and I believe we are, but you won't taste it. You won't see it in your own personal testimony unless you take time and you offer devotion at the Chonchimwa. So I want to give you the chance to do that. I really do. So we've tried to keep it open from 6 to 6, and we're holding on to that. We're not going to stop. We'll be there every single morning. Takayo and I and Kengo, we're going to be there every single morning to make sure that that's an environment for you. And the amazing thing is Takayo and I were praying in the Chonchimwan. We were told by Jake McCarthy that trying to get an apartment in Alhambra is one of the most difficult things to do. It's just like, you're just like shooting and then you're never accepted. And the challenging thing is Takayo and I have been living on parsonage agreements for the last 3 years. So we have no rental data. You get what I'm saying? When you try to rent an apartment, they're always asking you, "Oh, what's your rental data? How are you in good standing with your previous tenants?" We have no previous tenants. We are parsonage. We are living on church properties. And so how am I going to get an apartment? And so Takai and I started searching just a few days ago because it's so hard to come here every single day. And we wanted to make sure that this was open for everyone every single day and that the focus can be here and we spring from here. So we started to look for an apartment, and like 4 or 5 days in, we finally locked in and got a contract for our place in Alhambra that we're moving to in just a few days. And we were praying, we really prayed, and I said, Takai, we're not gonna agree on any apartment until we pray in the Chuncheon one. So Takai was like, we're gonna pray about an apartment, you know? So we go in there, Alhambra, California, you know, like, is this the right thing, God? And God's like, yes, you know, like, that's how I feel, you know, I feel like God's presence is like, God says, yeah, that's a good one. And then everything unfolds. There's no way we should have gotten this apartment. There is no way. I was like, it's impossible. But she called Aunt Katrine yesterday, and then everything was good. As they always ask for like someone to give a testimony, a reference, and we secured the place. So we're moving to Alhambra so we can be closer to the church. Aju, this is our way of. Anyway, I hope what this communicates is how serious this is. And starting next week, actually, maybe not next week, starting next week, I hope we're going to bring all of our leadership together for those who have been leading in our community for a while and those who have had a heart to lead. So I'm looking at Felicia and the Jones Lock parents. I really want to gather us next week to be able to sit down to just really discuss, centered on the Chuncheon in prayer, how can we navigate forward as a community in witnessing and re-witnessing and creating this environment where heaven can descend. And then after that, we're going to launch some form of training. which Takayo and I have a lot of experience with, which is how to help members with re-witnessing and witnessing. So how to help to bring your children closer, how to bring your spouse closer, how to create that national restoration in your family, and then also how do we go out and do witnessing around this area and in our local communities so that we can start to build the community here that we're proud of. I'm excited about Sunday service being bigger than Saturday service. That's been my dream from the get-go. The Jones Locks are with me, like totally. We're gonna do this, but not without sacrifice and investment centered on the Chonchimon in our prayer. Is that okay? So please look out for that. Please go there to pray before you leave today. That's my only request, if nothing else. So thank you so much. God bless. Thank you.